This is things you might not have heard for December the 3rd, 2025. I am Jacob Payne, and a little late getting on today. It's 6 after now, 6 after the normal time, 5:36 Central Time here in the Central Time Zone in Little Rock, Arkansas, where I'm sitting here right now, giving you the live broadcast of this thing. Maybe you're watching in the replay, so it doesn't really matter. But we have a wild ride for you for today. A whole lot of things that seem scattered, but trust me, there are some things here that I'm pretty sure you probably did not hear, and that may actually bring up some pretty good conversations around your dinner table, around your lunch table, around your water cooler, in your circle of friends, or just with the random kid down the street. Although the random kid down the street, that one, the final story about the drunken raccoon, that one might be not so safe for that random kid, if you will. But as we said, Drunken Raccoon, one of the stories we're going to cover this morning, also including today the book, or talks about the book that talks about JFK's personal life from the perspective of a lover. Yeah, doing that. Plus 50 Cent talking about Diddy's personal life from the basically perspective of Diddy, which gets really weird. NEX, an intoxicated raccoon, made the news today because there's no way in hell this one was not making today's statements. 5 of the stories as well that are a bit more sophisticated, if you will, more on the lines of news stuff, but we have them for you here in this presentation. Remind you that our website home is this. It's theconversationproject.com. You can see replays of what we do here and some of the whys and the backups of how we got to where we are to today. You can also find links to partnership opportunities and to other sponsors. On the spotlight today will be historieseveryday.com, which is not much of a sponsor in a way that it is something you're paying for, but is a sister companion site to get you more information, history every day, just like we have news every day. So let's get into the news of today, being December 3rd, 2025, and get on with this. Why don't we? And let's start right here, right now, right here, right now with the scandal. Oh, the scandal. Olivia Nuzzi's new book reveals RFK's hidden struggles, toxic habits, and turbulent personal life. I don't think the book comes out the next week, but excerpts of the book are out all over places. People have been bringing them up, until Trump started blowing stuff up. But RFK Jr.'s excerpts from the book are leading into the personal life of RFK with allegations of controlling behavior, substance abuse, and messy entanglements that complicate a reform brand and a person having an affair, a pretty scandalous affair on a couple of levels. So here it is. You have to separate what's going on with Olivia Nuzzi, who is a journalist who was set to cover RFK Jr., turned into something that was a bit more coverage, if you want to be a bit salacious about that one, and lied to her fiance, who was going to eventually write a book about all the candidates at the end of the season, that she was covering other candidates back and forth, which was actually canoodling with one RFK Jr. First person reports of what's going on, filing for things to give some things with some third party claims here back and forth. So counter messages will pop up from the Kennedy camp once the book has really had a chance to kind of see itself. And what's really turned into a big skirmish, which is not really a part of this actual piece here we got from our robot editor getting here, is the fiance, Ryan Lizza, who is also a fairly big time journalist in the world of politics and people, who is now doing a Substack or whatever brand he's using to put out some bits and pieces of what was going on in their relationship, him and Nuzzi, in the meantime, while he was kind of unraveling what was going on back and forth. So it's like a three-way tie here. It's a really big, salacious, nasty story that's interesting to talk about. That the only problem is it's RFK Jr. and the care factor is high, but not as high as other folks going forward because people already know he's a little nutty. It is kind of there. We will see how this thing plays out. Everybody actually buys the book. If everybody just kind of get a high on all of the excerpts going back and forth. And when the upturn comes from it, because right now there are other things, really bad things in the news to really talk about, and other really salacious things in the news to talk about that it's drowning out what should be a good cash grab for Olivia Nuzzi. But we're going to see how that plays out pretty soon. Playing out on Netflix, and I'm surprised I hadn't a chance. Well, I'm not surprised. The time hasn't got been in my favor yet. But Diddy's legal team is accusing Netflix of using unauthorized footage and a 50 Cent new docuseries. It's not a docuseries on 50 Cent, it's on Sean Diddy Combs. The lawyers for Mr. Combs sent a cease and desist, alleging that Netflix doc as relying on stolen or unauthorized clips and turning the content launch into a rights fight. This is a new documentary that got released, I believe, yesterday or maybe Monday. So I had a chance to actually tune into it. It's been a busy week so far. And so many folks have watched the four-part series that is produced, executive produced by 50 Cent, who is now more or less the arbiter of truth when it comes to the Diddy words. The unauthorized footage claim becomes the primary keyword in what we're talking about here. It frames the headline, as I'm sort of speaking outside baseball to you, as the big deal. Sean Diddy Combs is always taping his life, and somehow, some way, some producers of this film got access to these films that he was producing, basically things from a few days before he was arrested. And 50 Cent, who's been a terror of a rival for quite some time, don't care. He wants to get this thing out there and yes, make some money, but he's saying he's claiming to get the truth out there, going back and forth. Netflix hasn't detailed the provenance of how they got the actual footage, but they say it was legal. They say it was licensed. They said everything's up and up. So it's going to be a deal. Now, the content was literally filmed by Sean Combs because he's always filming himself because one day he wanted to do some sort of docuseries, some sort of documentary on himself. So he was getting the work done. But somehow, some way, the people behind this one actually got a hold of these tapes and put them into the actual video. The video also includes some interviews with some of the jurors to get kind of a deeper detail of what they were thinking in the process going forward. But the part that Diddy's folks are actually fighting is the specific footage that is of Sean Combs, filmed by Sean Combs and his people, that made it into the flick. And of course, 50 Cent don't care. Yesterday, we opened up with a story on Michael Jordan and the NASCAR antitrust fight, basically saying that the teams are getting shellacked by the groups and the actual tracks because NASCAR won't share the money right. Some of the testimony began yesterday with Danny Hamlin taking the stand and actually breaking down during the actual stuff. Emotional testimony underscoring how the charter system isn't just about economics. It's existential for teams like 23XI, which is, of course, Michael Jordan's new team out there trying to get a hold into the world, but not quite making the money that he thinks he should. And he's going to try to make that happen. So, yeah, Hamlin argued that the current terms are a death certificate for independence. And the moralized language, the really bad, deep language, shows that it dominated the clips and quotes on those types of things, basically showing how it's hard for a small time racing team to make any money, any inroads, because it's just stacked against them. Strategically, the charters are basically called in one graph. Cigars that basically that they are this big franchise, but not really anything that anyone can kind of break through. The charters that are there are just so archaic and so anti-charter, if you will, makes it hard for anyone to make any actual inroads what's going on. Settlement probes will probably pop up soon to try to make sure they can get less discovery because the more they talk about it, the more we know about it, the more insight will have issues, and they'll actually drive down some of the money and some of the media rights because some of the details going back and forth. So, but keep in mind that the Jordan brand, the 23XI brand, content is going to be a big deal in what they're doing. Jordan's just trying to do a business deal, and this is one case where we can't really jump on Jordan for being Michael Jordan, the not so nice guy. He's just playing business. He's a billionaire, and he wants to get into this stuff because he wants to dominate because that's what he does. He can pay a couple of guys to drive, and that's something he can do, and find the best drivers and compete with it. Except when the competition is not fair, and he has some money, some backing, and a bit of clout to maybe push that a bit more. Sadness as we move away from the Thanksgiving tradition of cranberry sauce that must be in a can with ridges that wiggle because it must. Ocean Spray is being hit with an investigation after some cranberry sauce cans were found that were filled with just water or pinkish water because it was cranberry juice, basically. Ocean Spray has acknowledged a few reports of cans containing water instead of cranberry sauce and says it's investigating with this going forward. So if you bought one, go check it out and see what's going to happen, what they'll do for you. Cranberry sauce videos went mega viral on TikTok and Facebook, and the brand responds to the stress rarity while promising to make good what's going on there, saying this doesn't happen often. This basically never happens. It never happens to us. Yet ocean spray is being felt. The heat. You see a couple pictures there if you're watching the video of some cans that just have a little bit of water in them. No cranberry sauce at all. So the numbers of failed cranberry to launch cans is pretty low. So it is not necessarily a large smattering of people who got cheated of their beloved goods on Thanksgiving, but they got cheated. It was a problem, and enough people happened so that the sauce maker or the juice maker, Ocean Spray, were up to say said, you know what, it's real, it's not fake. People aren't trying to cheat us out of stuff. We're going to work on this one. So we're going to track how the clusters work, the footprints, the lot numbers, things like that, and see where it's going from and see how widespread it is. But the short version of this is simple. When a company screws up, they got to fix it. So now Ocean Spray needs to fix this. And, for a can of cranberry sauce, a couple bucks or so here or there, doesn't seem like it's a lot going on. But when it becomes something of a this, it can become something of a this. Four stories done for today. Four stories coming up. I promise you 8 for this Wednesday. You'll get 8 stories. You will get 8 stories. But this is the part where we pause for just a slight moment and ask you for some assistance to help us grow in our endeavors. We need the Conversation Project. We need all of More Better Media to be larger, if you will, which is why we're going to promote the History is Every Day website today. But we need your help to grow this thing here. We're not a very big channel by all means. We're at 2,700 and so subscribers, and we get a bit of response. We get subs. We get some things that go viral every so often, and we get a lot of good comments from people that aren't just trolls anymore, which we're glad about. But we need more. We want larger. We want to be a chance to fight on the bigger scales with some of the bigger players, and of course collaborate with some folks as well, and be in the same sort of venue, and not just be the little guy sitting on the internet in his corner of his office, which is what I am, obviously. But have some more clock going back and forth. And yes, I actually have some journalistic background and broadcasting background. Just growing this thing from a couple things has been a fail. So we need your help to have more people chit-chatting with us, if you will. Very simply, go to wherever you're watching this from. This is going live on Facebook, also on X, and of course on YouTube. And like it. Show the algorithms that we're worthy of getting some love, and show me that I'm worthy of getting some love. The algorithm may share it with more folks to get them a chance to watch it as well. If you know some like-minded people, share directly with them so they can watch it and get engaged into it, and hopefully like and share as well. If this was shared to you somehow, or it popped up in a notice in your algorithm, and you like it, very simple. Subscribe so you get this every single day natively in your feed. We give you this thing here 5 days a week. Try to do it 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, with the live version at 5:30 a.m. We give you hot takes all day long here on this channel, for the YouTube at least, or also on TikTok. And we also have an email newsletter that will allow you to just read the news, and you can see that as well. Find those things at our website. Find more things about us as you want, and just ask us questions. We will do our best to answer them quickly. This is a little ditty that I'm glad you guys jumped onto, because I didn't think it was going to get very much. It wasn't a massive success, a really high engagement story, but it was enough to pique the interest of people who are like, "Oh, really? We should check this out." And what we're checking out is the headline that traditional personal finance advice actually doesn't work for most of us Americans out there. This is coming from a new book by economists John Campbell and Taram Ramdorama. They argue that personal finance systems are too complex, really, and costly for ordinary households. And this is called on personal finance advice. Essentially, Dave Ramsey yelling you about stupid taxes is a little too complicated for most people, or more or less. They have a fix for this, though. Some simpler defaults for things that you just sort of do, and you just roll with it and just watch it happen. Auto enrollment for various things such as payment plans and target dated funds to happen on their own. Plus, produce some governance that actually curbs predatory complexity. Basically, the way people work for financing, either refinancing on things or help you through financing or just taking your money out of your pocket. Put some governance on the actual product people to keep them from doing the dirty things to make extra bucks. And that would make it easier for Americans to make it work. So, US sentiment data is showing that many Americans feel like they are poor financial shape anyway. Fair, maybe, mostly poor financial shape. And that makes this reality even worse for people going back and forth. So it's not about, the gurus, not about, buying the next book by Tony Robbins and having him get you out of your financial situation by buying Bitcoin, because that's kind of complicated. It really is about doing more simpler things for all of us and living to some things that basically means some regulation for the people who are trying to be a bit more predatory. They'll say they're trying to make a buck, make a profit, going back. So that's what you have for this one here. Financial advice, the stuff that seems basic, not as basic as it may seem, and just being yelled and screamed at by Susie Orman isn't exactly how you're going to get your finances in order. There was a report yesterday. I listened to the radio and I listened to Michael Shmerkanish, and he covers lots of topics, not just politics, not just the political stuff. He went into the coaching thing and saying that he had a number that I don't can't be right, but basically that this season, $150 million was being spent for coaches to not coach. That had to be a billion, because it seems like there's so many coaches who are sitting on buyouts right now. And the big trigger for this story is, of course, the big deal. I'm saying you freeze. I'm going way back now. The big deal with Lane Kiffin swapping his allegiance from Ole Miss to LSU before the playoffs, and all the kerfuffle with that one, and the coaching carousel already going around for the college ranks. Here's a big bunch of money being paid for a coach to coach, and the repercussions that is causing for the actual budgets for states. Because Colorado has a $27 million budget. Colorado, the state, or Colorado, Colorado, the not the state, the actual the college has a budget deficit because they're paying their coach and their players a lot of money. Deserved, undeserved. We'll just go into the story. Now, the athletic department is projecting a $27 million deficit, with football being the driven expense, mostly through NIL obligations cited to as key pressures. Yes, the coach makes a bunch of money, but what's really causing the issue, they believe, is paying so many players NIL, name, image, and likeness money, because that's what they're owed now. Sanders got a raise and some ambitions to raise the stakes at facilities and some media stuff that also caused some issues for the budget. So yeah, they're paying him more money going forward, but they really are targeting the money going to the players here specifically. And this is not just a Colorado problem. We just happen to have a headline from Colorado because Deion Sanders is that guy and doesn't really care. He'll take on the media, he'll take on the stories because there's nothing wrong with it. He'll tell you it's just what it is. But right now, what we're seeing is based on viewership and revenue spikes within your college football ranks, and what you're doing with your sales from your merchandise. They've sold a lot of merchandise there. The profit and loss margins are not exactly what they should be based on what's coming in and what's going out. And the big thing is the shortfall. They're right now, like I said, they're blaming it, if you have to blame it on something, on paying the players, because they pay the players. It is. They're paying the players. It's a reality that is true. Whether it's going to tank some of these college programs, whether it's going to make the whole it's already made the whole student athlete thing sort of a null and void thing, especially for football and basketball, because they're getting something in most cases at larger schools. Whether this is going to actually tank some other schools, and from the process, we will see. Colorado will find a way to make up that $27 million somehow, some way, somehow. We'll see what happens for some other ones. We get more word on how bad they're doing. And the big deal is right now, Colorado is paying people to actually play, as opposed to some of these other schools here in the SEC specifically, which are paying a lot of people not to show up for work for a good period of time. Sabrina Carpenter is speaking out, criticizing the White House for using her song in what she calls an evil video The video is evil and disgusting per Sabrina Carpenter, calling out the White House in this video on immigration and using her song Juno without a permission, which is the real deal. And the issue on that end. There's a lot of people from the White House, from the Trump administration, who are seeing them being blasted by artists of all types for using their works in various things, and sometimes some of the similarities and some inspirations in some of the AI stuff that's being put out there. The clip in particular is tied to ICE operations and continues a pattern of music used in political propaganda without artist consent. Political propaganda is the word used by the Guardian when we pulled this from them and our robot editor. You can call it what you want to. You can call it persuasion if you want to, if that makes you feel better. In this case, the words sort of make them fit. But after the backlash, officials doubled down on the mocking response rather than pulling the post, believe it or not. Essentially, the White House would just basically did more to bitch and complain at Sabrina Carpenter instead of saying they're sorry, which made the story go a second day and a thirdish day, which is basically why we're talking about it now. This is something that was sort of popped in the frame a few days ago. We're getting it now based on what's going on. And yes, when we get to the drunken raccoon, trust me, you realize why, it takes a while for some of these stories to get here. Here's the deal. There's fair use for things, and there's licensing for things, and there's basic permissions for things, and it all has legal headway going back and forth. The reason why I don't like doing videos, the reason why I don't like doing music and sounds is I don't want to really have to fuss with that stuff, because back in my day dealing with radio, I never dealt with it. I just didn't do it. If we didn't have a license to it, or my big corporation wasn't going to pay for the licensing or for the or any sort of background, we didn't do it. We didn't play with it, even on news clips. If the person didn't say it themselves to us, we were very hesitant to use it going forward. We will track how this thing goes back and forth. But right now, Carpenter is saying she didn't want any part of this. She had no say in this. It is going to be, another one of those things. This is not going to be another one of those things. This is something totally outlandish, but hey, it made it in. We're talking about it. Why? Oh, trust me, you guys wanted to talk about it. The headline for our eighth story for the day, it reads, Intoxicated Raccoon found passed out in liquor store bathroom after breaking in and ransacking shelves. We don't need to do much after that, but I sort of do, because I want to see if have this used for some hot takes. So let's read some words from the robot editor. Virginia officials say a raccoon crashed through a ceiling tile, smashed bottles, drank booze, then blacked out in a liquor store bathroom. This was actually listed on the crime blotter by police, and you see video evidence if you're watching the video of the passed out raccoon right there. The animal actually sobered up at the shelter and was safely released. Damage estimates on social media memes spiked by the actual evening were hoots, but in all actuality, no animals, no raccoons or humans were harmed in the issue, other than losing a little bit of inventory and maybe a couple chuckles. They probably got a whole lot of social media out of this one as well. It's simple. A raccoon breaks into a liquor store. It sounds like a joke, but it gets a little drunk, and then hits to the head to kind of relieve himself, and just kind of flat. That's simple. How often do we have intoxicated raccoons in stories? Not very often. How often do raccoons break into liquor stores, even on by mistake? This is why we're talking about this one. This is one that's definitely going to be water cooler, or maybe bar stool cooler talk for you in the next couple days. So now that the drunken raccoon is in the history books, will it make it into a news story next year when we talk about it in our features at historieseveryday.com? I'm not going to put big money on it, but you know what? It could happen. It could be the anniversary of 1 year ago, a raccoon crashed through a liquor store roof in Ashton, Virginia, and drank up the booze and got drunk and all this stuff. It could happen. But what we have for you on this day is 12 things that happened on this day, the day being the 3rd of December, 2025. So going back into the past, plus 7 people who were born and 7 people who passed on this day. And it's a great way to jolt up your history. If you're history buff, you can go into things that will jolt some things, turn into a trivia of sorts going back and forth, and get yourself some learning on things you may have forgotten about. Now, you can get this in 3 different ways. Way number one is this, as I said, go to our website, historyeveryday.com, and every morning at 3:30 a.m. we release that day's newsletter, which also comes in an email newsletter straight to your inbox. You can read it from there as well. Same time, different place, YouTube will allow you the This Day in History podcast, which is a shorter version, about 60 seconds worth, which gives you 3 history lessons, 3 births, 3 deaths right there. And as we find very cool things that happen here to parallel from now to the past, we'll give you our takes on history. And those are also there on the YouTube channel as well. Check them out. They're all there for you to see. You may see how some things that you don't remember from not too far ago become big pieces, because when we scour through the history, this day in history, some things are so large that the recent things are there. Sometimes we go way, 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 way back to the single digits if it's something big. Check out your history. Get yourself some history love back on by going to historyeveryday.com. Stop by some of the sponsors there as well, because that helps keeps that one going. Yeah, it's basically a crawl over some websites and going through some lists. So it is effort, but it is effort. So we appreciate the effort and appreciate you helping spread the word of learning, one for news stories that are live, like today on this broadcast here, and things from the past from historyeveryday.com, a part of the More Better Media umbrella platform. Da-da-da. So let's talk about the More Better Media umbrella platform, specifically with the Conversation Project. Our lives, our stuff, all live at thisisconversationproject.com. This is conversationproject.com. So you can see past episodes, some other things out there abounds, links to our partnerships page, links to more sponsors there as well. And you can engage with us there at the website. You can also find us in the internets via our email address, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. We can chit chat up anything you want to, whether we got the right stories or we got the wrong stories. You let us know there. Follow us on Facebook and X, our feeds, if you will, which allow you to see the stories. We post news headlines. We've been a bit lax. We have been kind of off. It's been a couple things going on. If you've been behind the scenes, you know that we've been having some health issues and other difficulties that have had things go rocky. But on Facebook and X, we post news articles for you to engage in there to help us pick. The reason why we're talking drunk raccoons is because people engage in those stories on our Facebook page, on our X site. And so we know people care about drunken raccoons because they're drunken raccoons, of course. But check it out on the feeds. Also follow us on YouTube. If you consider being a partner or a joining there, because the partnership cost on Buy Me a Coffee, it's actually $1 less when you join it on YouTube. Just think, and it directly comes in, so we can count it directly. That's accounting, if you will. With that, we wrap up the Wednesday edition of Things You Might Have Heard, the Wednesday, December 3rd edition, 2025, specifically for Things You Might Have Heard for this day. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, and I thank you so much for hanging out with us for the day. It has been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Whether you watch this live or you're watching this in some replay sometime, let us know where you're watching from, how it's going, and what we can do to make things better. Love you guys. Mean it so much. We're going to do our best to fill out 4 days of news this week because we want to. We missed the first day on Monday, but we're going to do our best to get more news because life goes better when you know stuff. Even if it's things like drunken raccoons or RFK's weird sex life with his lover who wrote a book about it because she wants to make money on it. Meanwhile, her ex-fiance is writing substacks on it because he wants to make money on it. Yeah, people are strange, but people are people, and people will keep peopling. And while they do, we'll report on what they report on as they report on it. Something like that. Love you again. Mean it so much. We out of here. See you Thursday.